Well, first of all, I'm honored to be here and to be the first lecturer in this magnificent convention. And as Avram said, the subject is escapism. Escapism is a term that was defined as an escape from reality. In art history, it refers only to the symbolist movement that was flourished in the late 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. The term symbolism came to define a European cultural phenomenon in the last quarter of the 19th century. The term first appeared in Jean Morea's manifest on symbolist poetry, but it's quite relevant also to the visual arts. In this manifest, which discussed the symbolist poetry, Morea criticized the realistic cruelty, the documentation of naturalist literature and poetry, and called to take a new approach that emphasized the emotional value projected from the work, while objects are functioned only as symbols. This phenomenon was characterized Sorry, I'm a bit excited. It was characterized by reacting to the 19th century European positivist cultural perceptions of admiring the modern industry reality and seeing in science and the objective reality the formula to describe the world around us. In contrast to the realistic positivist objective point of view, the symbolists who couldn't adjust themselves to the modern actual reality searched for a refuge, a safe place that allowed them to avoid dealing with this cruel world. Hence, they found a comfort in the concept that the true reality is not the one experienced by the senses, but instead it is a supreme beyond the external objective world reality, and that only ideas can introduce that reality. Symbolism was actually an escapist movement that believed in alternative, supreme, imaginary, and delusional reality, which is a substitute to this testable world. Reality of ideas, impressions, and emotions presented by actual real-world objects, which are functional only as icons. I'm sorry, but someone didn't turn off the sun yet, so the slides are a bit vague. The search of the symbolist artists and poets after a pure and sublime alternative reality made the symbolists turn to the imagination, the fantasy, and the dream, to non-Western culture. This is a picture of Puvis de Chavannes. Imagine there is a description of the picture called The Dream, Le Rêve. There is a person who sleeps here on the shore, and three angels are crowning him with a crown of flowers. Oh, I'm so sorry about the damage of the slides by the sun. Most of the symbolist paintings were characterized with the melancholic atmosphere of sorrow and boredom, disillusionments of love, fatigue, and loneliness. Those melancholic states of mind came to express the artist's inability to deal with the actual world. Hope of George Frederick Watts. George Frederick Watts, Hope, a figure with her eyes shut off with clothes, and she holds a lyre and it's bent down with a sour attitude in the figure. Jean Delville, Orpheus. Orpheus was a mythological figure that he went to achieve his spirit of his wife in the in the spirits, in the world spirits, and then when he couldn't achieve to bring back his dead wife, he died and his head was cut off and swam to the shore. And here is the head of Orpheus in his lyre on the wave of the sea. Everything is very melancholic, very quiet, very sad pictures. Fernand Noff, a Belgian artist, his pictures are very vague. There is no actual interpretation to these pictures. Also, it's giving an atmosphere and not an iconography. The crucial, it's crucial to emphasize that symbolism wasn't a style, but rather a conceptual approach, promoting the concept of presenting an abstract idea of a higher reality over the reality of everyday life. Therefore, there is no unified stylistic approach, but many styles that are designed to express the same idea. Visual descriptions are not understandable by themselves, but they are subjected to an interpretation that refers to the existence of a higher truth assisted by philosophical, religious, literary, and social themes. Head women, it's in pastel colors. Hypnos, a clay statues, and here it is depicted in Knopf picture. Hypnos, the Greek work of sleep and dreams, became such a significant figure of Knopf because sleep gives us the dreams. Dreams are an alternative world, a supreme world to the realistic, objective world. I clocked my door upon myself, even also of Knopf, very enigmatic picture. And here is also the clay, the statue, the description of the statue. My heart cries for the past, some nostalgic description, a woman face kissing her image in the air. Woman head looking forward with the wind colored chalks on gray paper. Nature. Description of nature or nature consisting figures were a common motive in creating a heavenly alternative world, a pure reality, but it also a long tradition in Western art, like in Venice, Tiziano, and also other Italian painters. In order that nature will be considered symbolic, one that presents a supreme and higher reality, it was stylized, abstract, and even became decorative, as seen in this picture of Maurice Denis. This is still even frozen, lacking of drama landscapes, without a breath of wind or movement, sometimes having heavenly features, such as a full shining day of springtime consisting of classic figures, and other times nature becomes poetic. Also, paradise, nature, and a group of children dancing in a circle, idyllic spring, also it's very idyllic description. Lovers walking in nature, there's a halo of light behind them, very abstracted. Also in Divisionist, if this one is very classic in the style, this one, this painting, and this one made in Divisionist technique of dots in one next to another. Maurice Denis, April is morning, decorative, abstract, and flattered nature. Galileo Chini, La Primavera, che presenta Serinova, spring rebirth again, classical spring, very decorative, much influence from Klimt paintings. Elysium, the heaven of the Greek gods, the women of Eleusis. Pelizza da Volpedo, Italian painter, sunset, also indivisionist technique that come to symbolize the divine forces in nature that rise with the sun. And this is a shame that we don't have a complete dark room, because I don't know if you can see that, but in the sunrise there is a big mouth, big lips described here, like heaven and God is in the nature, in every single thing in nature, even in the rise and in the sunset. La danza delle ore, the dance of the hours. The morning and the evening are dancing in a circle. This is the moon and this is the sun. Very Botticelli-like figures. So you can see that there's a lot of stars, but the concept is much more important than the style itself. Il giorno sveglia la notte. Morning wakes up night. And this is a poetic nature. Poetic nature is a term that was defined by the Italian, the Roman native painter Giovanni Nino Costa, and he wrote about poetic nature as a symbolic nature. Dawn, or the hour that follows sunset, so quiet and poetic in its shadows, in the uncertainty of description of light, those restrained and mysterious effects which have an affinity with the calm of the soul and with the sweet melancholy that certain hours infuse with nature. This is much poetic than nature by itself. Poetic nature, ideal, here it was also indivisionist technique, and this one very classic, even Victorian classic figures, ideal. Böcklin, the Swiss painter Arnold Böcklin, the Easel of the Dead, very silent, very calm, very enigmatic nature. Also here, Arnold walking the sacred wood. It's like timeless nature. Even though symbolism was an artistic expression of escapism, the Italian painter Pelizza da Volpedo created a unique individual symbolism which contained the two opposite attitudes, positivism and symbolism together, and it gained the term positivist symbolism, meaning what the European symbolism was running away of, the positivist, realist point of view, he contained in his work of art. Pelizza, who lived in an unstable economically and politically period in Italy, saw his duty as an artist to create an art for the humanity, which will give hope for the common people for a better egalitarian society. His painting, The Mirror of Life, and what the first does, the other also do, presents actually this positivist symbolism idea. The painting presents a ship's line walking slowly in mountain scenery of Volpedo village at twilight time, which corresponds of Costa's call to describe the poetic moments of nature. But the painting title that was inspired by Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, Purgatorio Canto 3, indicates that this is not just a symbolist painting of poetic nature, but it also carries the artist's social perceptions. In Dante's Divine Comedy, the key to resolve the painting mystery, the purgatory is defined as an intermediate stage between heaven and hell, in which resides the souls of the people born before the coming of Christ from the pagan world. The purgatory is characterized by an activity of rise up and not of falling down like in hell. Hell was a gravity pulling down direction, whereas the purgatory had a kind of rising up movement where the souls can move on and up to the next terrace. Accordingly, Pelitza's line suggests, in his words, a kind of spiritual calmness, joining the soul to the great calm before skipping between good and evil among the joys and pains of life. Pelitza chose to use the divisionism, a modern technique in its time, expresses socialist value as noted in his letter from 1895. Modern art should, besides being in harmony of color and balance, rise to the concept of human. I feel that now it is no longer a period of creating art for art's sake, but art for the humanity. Thus, the formal reduction generated by using the divisionist technique that creates an interpretation of the reality instead of describing it, the quiet rhythmic of the ship's walk and the light illuminated their profile like an halo behind them. All of that transformed the scene from a mere naturalistic description of ships walking around the meadow to a suggestive symbolism description aiming to transfer in the waveline march the humanity progressed forward to a better future, not in a straight line, but in undulating motion, skipping between good and evil. Klimt, from a Beethoven frieze, Kiss to the whole world, water snakes, everything here we can see it's a symbolism. Gustave Moreau, the magnificent French painter, he was the teacher of Matisse, different kind of painter, but he got from him the love of color. Gustave Moreau, like a symbolist, put the emphasis on the pagan world, myth from the Greek mythology, escapist for the past. Here is Jupiter and Semele. And it also reminds very much an Indian work of art, like Jupiter is described like Buddha, Hesiod and the Muse, the Chimera, Greek monster. This is the escape for the legends, for escape to the myth. Escape for another cultures, Siam, Galileo Kini, which traveled to Siam and documented. Here is the old cemetery in Siam, and Paul Gauguin, who is also described between other definitions as symbolist. His painting in Haiti is not a Western culture, so this becomes a symbolist descriptions. Danae of Klimt, Jean Delville, Belgian artist, Archangel, paper and pencil, Parsifal from Wagner operas, death, disillusions, melancholy, sadness, allegory of hell, the treasure of Satan. They are not very optimistic. A macabre dance of the hour, eternity and death. There is the angel of death here, and the Rimmel is dancing in a circle, our dance in a circle. The death of the grave digger, and a bit something different. While symbolism acted as an escapist, melancholic culture's movement, a new attitude upstream the world of art, which was considered part of the symbolist movement, decadentism, Most of the decadent artists were also active as symbolists. Like the symbolists, the decadent also went against the naturalist, positivist philosophy and looked for ways to escape from it, from the burden and banality of daily life. But the difference between the two is noticeable in their attitude to escapism, where the symbolists sought for a new supreme, sometimes illusionist reality. The decadents found a way to deal with the objective reality by devoting themselves completely to the pleasure of the body, usually those who conspired with sexual perversions, ignoring any sense of morality or guilt, like read Dorian's great picture of Oscar Wilde. Most of the decadent artists dealt with the image of the seductive, supreme, pervert, and destructive woman, called femme fatale. Often, in order to present her closeness to nature and her being a savage naturalist creature, she was described as a young, wedded, beautiful woman, mostly naked in nature, sometimes accompanied by savage animals. Aubrey Beardsley, a graphic designer and illustrator of the late England, the Victorian England, masquerade, very macabre, naked, she Listeria defending the Acropolis, also for Aubrey Beardsley, Jean Delville, the idol of perversity, pencil on paper, and she has the Medusa head with the snakes, which comes to symbolize the femme fatale, that freezing in her look the man that who looks at her. Aubrey Beardsley, Kiss from Salome, and the head of John the Baptist. Louis Ricardo Falero, Witches Going to the Sabbath, which is actually in orgies. Les Nymphes, they are savages, they are close to nature, they are dominated by their instinctive sexual, attitudes. Klimt, goldfish, redhead. The redhead is actually a symbol of her perversion or some blood that is streaming from her head. Monk, vampire, he hugs her and she bites his neck. The relationships between the femme fatale and the victim are relationships of perversion, of sadomasochism, like she likes to hurt people, the lover wants to be hurt. So it's like something very perverted between them. Klimt, Judith I, she holds the head of Holofernes here, and Salome dancing. Fernand Knauf, look, it's a very enigmatic picture. The artist and the femme fatale looks like tigers. The face of a woman and the body of a cheetah. It's even not a sphinx-like, she's much more dangerous to the male. As a woman, she's much more dangerous. The kiss of the Sphinx, she actually sucks his life from him. Le vice supreme, behind any woman, even if she looks very holy, when you take off her mask, every woman becomes a monster. Well, they didn't like very much women, or they were afraid of them. The Medusa and the Eros, very classical. This is also an Italian painting, Giulio Aristides Sartorio. The Medusa and the Eros, and she's standing, she's very beautiful. She's like a Venus standing on three male bodies. And also of Sartorio, Diana of Ephesus and the slaves. Here the statue is taken from an Etruscan statues of Diana. Diana is the goddess of the animals, and she's protected and nurturing them. She has walls of breasts. This is the Etruscan, the original version. And in Santorio, instead of someone who protects the world of living, she becomes a femme fatale that poisons everything that is around her. Thank you very much.